Right, I'm doing a lead welding video. You've all asked me long enough. This is how I lead weld. Right, what you need: clean surface, lead, rods, angry banana, fire starter, scraper, bottles, various different gases available. I'm using propylene, oxygen, 5 psi, 5 psi. So when you're starting out, less is more. You want to start cold so everything happens slower when it's cold. So it's a little crack, just enough to get some gas out. And you're looking for about 2 inches of 50mm flame. And then we'll crack the oxygen just gently. And we're going to draw that back until we have just a ball on a ballpoint pen for acetylene, but propylene's more sort of pointy. Something like that. This is what sets your PSI in the bottles. This tells you how much is in your bottles. So when you're setting up for welding, especially as a beginner, don't try and weld 2 bits of lead together. Just start on a nice flat piece of lead, making sure we've got no lumps and bumps. We don't want anything raised off the bench. We want it nice and tight, flat down to the bench. Clean dresser, clean surfaces, clean everything. So we've got good clean lead here, but it's really good practice to clean your lead up before you weld it. So this is a shave hook which painters use, a little bit of a sharpen, and we're just going to run sort of 15-20mm lines down the lead. And if you want to make them nice and straight, just do it down a straight edge. So welding rods cut straight off the lead roll. Generally for me, my perfect size is about 7mm. A lot of people like to use around 10mm. Always checking it's flat. First step of welding lead is holding the torch on the lead until it melts. Now, if it's not melting, you're welding too cold. If it's melting really fast, you're welding too hot. But what I do recommend to all beginners is you try both. Have your heat right up, melt the hell out of it, blow holes in it, then have your heat right down. Try and weld with cold, and you will see somewhere in the middle of those 2 points you find a happy zone. That's the most important tip I can give to anybody lead welding. Try it out, don't worry about how it looks, just play around with it and you will get better naturally. So before we weld, one majorly important thing is you must have very good ventilation, i.e. outdoors. Use an FP3 mask or extraction, fume extraction. Alright, so when you start, literally just going to mess about with melting lead, okay? So we're just going to hold it on the lead and see how long it takes to melt. And you see it melting there? You should be able to just hold that there for as long as you want, and most beginners rush now and panic to be welding. Look how long that just stays molten. It's going to take for ages to go through. So don't panic, there's no rush. Alright, so once you have that pool, you need to fill it up. Now you just take the heat away very, very slightly to make room for the rod. Take that rod and weld it nice and cold so it's happening really slow. And that is your first bead of weld. Now you see as I take off it cools down and leaves a hole. It's called a bird's eye. We don't want those. The trick is, if you can, to
keep the weld moving, but you can do it one by one when you're beginning. Alright, so we're going to repeat that process. I'm going to start from our bead. I'm going to melt. No rush, because I'm welding with the right temperature. I'm going to take a bit of rod. I'm going to let that settle into the weld. As soon as I feel like that's settled in a bit, I'm going to move over. Now I'm going to take a bit more rod, and there's your next bead coming in. Let it settle in, move over. And remember, at this point, beginners tend to, and they're just gone, and then it's all sort of going wrong. Stay where you are. If you're having trouble, it's probably your temperature. Do a quick run. See how it flows. Okay, that's an ideal situation. So let's give it a test with some extra heat. Right, this should be extra. Oh yeah. So now I'm panicking myself. Can't get enough rod in. You see what a mess it is. We've just got molten lead everywhere. Now, if you don't know what you're doing at this point, it's probably still okay. Look, I can hold it there for as long as I want, and off you go. But a complete mess nonetheless. Let's do the opposite of that. We'll go cold. So this is another mistake beginners make, is they weld too cold. As soon as they see that pull begin, right there, they tend to try and drip a piece on, and then it beads up because there's not enough pull for it to go into. See it, just rolling around. Try the extra hot, make a mess, try the extra cold, and then you'll know somewhere between that is your happy zone. Alright, so what I'll do now is the happy temperature that we found in the middle, and we'll do a quick flow through just so you can see up close and personal how it flows. So quite often when you watch me weld, I always spot weld the corners to hold it all in place. That's where I find my temperature. So you can adjust the flame at that point. So nice pull, fill it up, move it on. Fill it up, move it on. See that little dimple? Just give it a little bit more heat. Touching it and it'll go away. Welding with propylene, it tends to leave it quite misty, but it does just wipe off. So it's just the gases that make it look a bit misty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and teach my missus to weld on camera, so you get some idea of how a beginner looks doing it. Because obviously watching someone like an experienced lead worker do it, it looks so easy to do, and it is easy once you know how. She's had one go at this before, made a right mess of it first attempt, and then I talked her through it as she went. Let's see if she's remembered anything from the first tutorial. Alright, so the missus is going for her second ever go at lead welding. Make sure you stay in front of the extractor.
Now?
Yeah, off you go. So you see straight away she's forgotten what I've taught her. She's just dripped lead onto lead, so now we've just got a ball of lead on lead. But this is a common thing for beginners. You melt the lead first before you touch it with the rod. So let's see a little pool of lead. Now don't panic, hold it a bit closer, a bit closer. That's it, you see it coming now? Let that, now's the time to drop some lead into there. Good, now stop, stop. Stay on that spot where you were. Keep that flame on. Don't put the rod in. Alright, so relax. Okay, now listen to me. Melt that lead. Now drip some in. Stay on that spot. Now lift the rod out. Move over. Bit of rod, stop. Don't rush. That's it. There you go. Slow it down. Don't move over so fast. Don't panic. Alright, and we're off. So speed is everything. Just got to keep that flame flowing. I think Miss Leadwork Southwest is actually better than me. What?
Why is it so big?
Really? Anyway, so there we have it. From complete mess at the start, just slow it down, hold your heat on, and you've got a good weld. Alright, so she's not happy with the first weld, she's going in for weld number 2. But before you start, dress down the area that you're going to weld, because it's probably lifted under thermal movement. No. Perfect. Right, remember, get your pull, fill your pull, move over. Now can you see how much that nozzle and rod is moving around? It's because she's not got in a comfy position. It's really important to get in a comfy position. She's kind of in a stressed position. She's not leaning on the bench. She's just floating above, so it's really hard to get the torch to keep still at this point. And now she's panicking again and moving too quickly. Alright, ding ding, round 3. We're now on bench, less stress, more control. A nice pull first. Really melt it. That's it, now in. Wait, slow it down. A bit closer. Now moving. Now moving. Keep it flowing. You're not moving, you're on the same point. Moving over. Still on the same point. Tell you what though. Oh, too much rod. You see how you don't have to rush. She's spending so long on one point. No, you're dripping again. Just keep that flame melting. You've got to keep that surface melted. You're only taking it off really just enough. No, way too high off the lead. I want you to keep that flame right on the lead, so the heat's there at all times.
Like that?
Yeah. And just slide the rod into the pool, but don't touch the rod with your tip. There you go, and move and drip. And move and drip. There we go. Now you got it. Now a bit high, why are you coming up again? Right, that'll do. Let's have a look. Some pretty good stuff, that. So, when you're welding, if you notice too much of this petrol-y coloured haze, like quite a blue, deep blue, that's a sign you're using too much oxygen or not enough gas. And on the flip side of that, if you're getting a lot of black, like heavily black sooty stuff coming around, that's too much gas or not enough oxygen. Right, that's a wrap. Any questions, hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think.